Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cohn Zohn Live. I'm Grant. That's my dad, Lowell. And thank you for coming. The Niners lost a really interesting Monday night football game last night. They lost 34-24, and Niner fans were really emotional. I ranted a little bit last night. What I want to ask my dad is, Dad, do you blame anyone in particular for this loss to the Bills? It was a big game.
It's a good question, Iggy. You know, you could nitpick. You could say the pass rush wasn't very good, the cornerbacks, blah, 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 the quarterback. But no, I don't blame anyone. You know, sometimes you have to accept in sports one team is better than the other.
Yeah.
The Bills are a better team than the Niners. They just are.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous and not fair to the Niners to nitpick. The Niners played really hard. They hung in there for a long time. They have a lot of problems that some of them are not their fault.
Yeah.
So no, in my life as a sports writer, I've done a lot of criticizing and blaming and nagging and scolding.
Yes.
Not in this case, all power to the Niners. They did the best they could, and they lost to one heck of an outfit.
Yeah, the fact that the Niners were favored to win this game just shows how good the coaching staff is, how hard they play, how much respect people have for them. The fact of the matter is the Bills are way better than the 49ers. And there's no shame in that. There's no shame.
You know what? I may have even gained a little respect for the Niners in the loss. They played to the best of their ability. They played hard. You know, people are going to say, but Mullins this. You know what? They played hard. The other team was better. And sometimes you just wipe your hand across your mouth and you move on.
Yeah, I looked at Josh Allen yesterday and thought, he's every bit as good as Patrick Mahomes or right there. I mean, that guy is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's extremely confident. All of his wide receivers were open. What were the Niners really going to do? How are they going to pull out that win? They would have had to be, it would have been a miracle. It would have been a miracle.
Yeah, they were, I think they were outclassed on both sides of the ball. I do. Their defense, Robert Saleh's terrific. Their defense played hard. They weren't good enough. Josh Allen is really something. And, you know, I do have one question, Iggy. Mm-hmm. It didn't seem to me that Mostert got a lot of carries. Did he get hurt?
See, that's the thing. I do want to nitpick a little bit.
Okay.
Kyle Shanahan, you lost the game, and Raheem Mostert was a non-factor, not hurt. Deebo Samuel didn't get involved until the end. Kyle's too good to not get two of his best players involved like that. I mean, if Bill Walsh were alive, he'd be like, Kyle, how did you forget about Deebo today? You win when you get the ball to Deebo. So that's one thing. And then with Saleh, I actually wouldn't nitpick him. From what I saw, he tried every trick in the book. Zone isn't working, let's try man. Rushing four isn't working, let's try blitzing. And nothing worked because his players weren't as good as the Bills' players.
Yes. But may I come back to Mostert?
Yes.
He didn't get a lot of carries. Did he get hurt?
I didn't see that he got hurt. It's just the Niners fell behind, and Kyle Shanahan, I guess, ran out of ways to get him the ball if they're not running the ball.
Okay. All right. Again, that's nitpicking, and it's fair enough.
Yeah.
No matter what, even if they use Mostert more, they were going to lose. This was a better team.
Yes, this is the best team left on the Niners' schedule, I believe. I thought they would win, but in retrospect, it wasn't going to happen. The Bills have beaten every single team in the NFC West. They could win the Super Bowl. And if the Niners, even if they do win the next four and go to the playoffs, they're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. For a lot of reasons.
I don't think they're going to win. You know, I want to say in boxing, Joe Frazier was a great heavyweight, an all-time top 10 heavyweight, but he couldn't beat George Foreman. He just couldn't beat him.
No.
For whatever reason, you know, the matchup, he was short, all of that. And the Niners, I think they could play the Bills 10 times and they wouldn't beat them this season. I'm not talking about the future. I mean, this season.
I agree. All right, let's move on. What is the rest of this season about for the 49ers? What is the meaning of this season for them now that they've dropped this game?
Okay. One thing I'm sorry to say, if they had won the game, I think you could say the meaning of the season is still to contend for the playoffs.
Yes.
That would have the season would have the game would have a big meaning.
Yes.
Still contending for the playoffs. But Iggy, they're not contending for the playoffs.
No.
So they have to find meaning elsewhere. Okay?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think one of the things they could do is they could find meaning in preparing for next season. who are our best players.
Yes.
They could develop younger players. But you made a very important point this morning when we were talking before this. You said they're not going to do that until they're mathematically eliminated. So what do you think the meaning of the season is?
Yeah, I think the meaning of the season is it's still an opportunity for the Niners to fight like hell. I mean, they got 4 games left. They have to win all 4. Go fight. Go win. You guys won the NFC Championship last year. You still have good players. You got Washington coming in. You can beat Washington. They can beat you. But I mean, if they lose to Washington, it's over. Yeah, get the young guys in, see what you have for next year. But until then, I still think the Niners can fight, and I'd like to see them stick with it. Like, to me, you went to boxing just now. Like, they're not out of the fight yet. They just got knocked down in the 11th round. But I'd like to see them come out in the 12th and still fight. I mean, don't throw in the towel because you got knocked down once.
Iggy, do you think they will fight in the final 4 games?
Absolutely. They absolutely will. I think so. I think they haven't quit this season. They fought hard last night against the Bills. It's just the defense was on the field for like 37 minutes and they got tired at the end. Robert Saleh gets the team to play hard. Kyle Shanahan gets the team to play hard. They are one of the best coached teams in the league, even though they're injured. I still think they're going to fight like hell. And I think they're going to beat Washington, even though Washington just beat Pittsburgh. Because real quick, Alex Smith, good player. He's not Josh Allen. And the Niners defense couldn't stop Josh Allen, but they did a great job against Jared Goff, Drew Brees. I think they're going to look a lot better against the 26th ranked Washington offense.
I'm going to say something, and it's what I said last week. You're a very nice person, and you're much more positive and optimistic than I am. All I know is, sure, they could beat Washington. I understand that. Washington just beat the Pittsburghs. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal. The Niners couldn't beat Pittsburgh. I don't have any faith in the Niners. I don't. They've just lost 4 of their last 5 games.
Yes.
And had they won some of those games, one more, they would have been in it. And so, again, the burden of proof is on them. And to me, they keep not proving it. So I'm not going to say.
I have a bet on this. We're going to come to that later. So I'm not going to just give up on it yet. Looking at the schedule ahead, Washington might be the toughest game left on the Niners schedule. Washington has a terrific defensive line that's going to make Nick Mullins' life miserable. But their offense is ranked 25th. The Niners' defense should bounce back and play really well, and the Niners should at least compete, and it should come down to the end. After that, if they win that game, they got Dallas and their backup quarterback. They got Arizona, who's on a losing streak, and Seattle, who just lost to the Giants, and Colt McCoy. So all of a sudden, it's like if the Niners can just find a way to beat Washington, who knows what could happen. They got Andy Dalton in Dallas after that, and then the losing streak. I mean, Arizona is as cold as the Niners are right now. The Niners have won a game more recently than Arizona has. I don't know. It could happen. It could happen.
Sure. It absolutely
again, the Niners have a top-notch quality control assistant. So you got to look beneath the surface and understand they got a lot of people pulling in the right direction here.
I must say, I'm totally convinced now.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Where do the 49ers stand for next season? And the reason I ask, it's looking like, unless I'm right, that the Niners are going to have a losing record this season, which would be the 3rd time in 4 seasons Kyle Shanahan has had a losing record. 2019 was wonderful, but it was 1 year. And entering year 5, that's next year, Kyle Shanahan still won't have his quarterback, or maybe he will. It doesn't seem like he will. So are the Niners just going to bounce back next year? Are they building? Where do they stand? What is this team?
Iggy, I think it's unclear.
Yeah.
I mean, based on what we know, they'll be a good team next season. I don't know who their quarterback is going to be. I don't think they know who their quarterback is going to be. And if it's Jimmy, is that so good? I don't know.
Well, we'll get to Jimmy. Yeah.
We'll get to Jimmy later.
Yeah.
Where's the pass rush going to come from? Sure, Nick Bosa is going to be back. I think they need more than him. They used to have more than him. Their cornerbacks are still going to be a question. Yep. So, Iggy, I think it's a strange thing to say, but this is Shanahan's 4th season, and I think he's still building. We thought he had built it.
Yes.
No.
It's amazing that he's going to be entering year 5 and he still hasn't figured out his quarterback spot. So he could theoretically bring back Jimmy Garoppolo next year. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo can't survive behind this offensive line. This offensive line is really bad, and it's going to get guys hurt. They lead the league in quarterback hits. So they could bring back Jimmy, or they could go for a rookie. But do you really see? I mean, a rookie may not be better. A rookie may not win right away. A rookie might struggle. He might not even beat out Nick Mullins. So the Niners could have another losing season in 2021 just because of the growing pains of the rookie replacement for Jimmy Garoppolo. And now Kyle is the head coach who's had 4 losing seasons in 5 years. I mean, it's all of a sudden it gets really interesting. We thought of him as like the next Bill Belichick, but he actually has to kind of start winning at a certain point consistently.
And I would say this is going to sound hard to 49er fans, and I apologize, but I'm not sure he's prepared for next season.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a quarterback hierarchy that's impressive. I'm not sure he's prepared for next season. And we thought they were like almost a dynasty, not close to a dynasty team. Nothing of the sort.
And what's amazing is the fact that imagine going into year 5 of a tenure of a coach, and he still hasn't figured out his quarterback. And the reason he hasn't figured out his quarterback is he's passed on guys like Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. Didn't want him. He brought this problem on himself. And now year 5, he's like, you know what? Really, I guess I need a quarterback. Well, you've had CJ Beathard on your roster for 4 years doing nothing, just taking up a spot playing ping pong. You should have been drafting guys and developing them. This is interesting. I mean, Bill Walsh wasn't in this position. By year 5, he had Joe Montana. Most coaches who get to year 5 of their tenure as a head coach without a quarterback fail. So it's interesting. Kyle needs to get this right.
And listen, when Bill had Joe Montana, then he brought Steve Young into the building.
That's right.
He wasn't messing around.
He was not satisfied.
All-time great quarterbacks,
yes,
competing with each other and probably not liking each other at that time very much. Bill didn't care. Where is this attention to detail and excellence in Kyle Shanahan? It may seem like a small point, but it's the whole point. He's not prepared himself.
And it's fine. Like, you didn't like Jimmy Garoppolo. You weren't sold on Jimmy Garoppolo. Where was the next guy?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we like Nick Mullins. He's not the next guy. He's your super backup forever. He's the Gary Kubiak on your team, the Steve Bono, whatever. That's great, but he's not the answer. So what were you doing here? You were just banking on a quarterback that you didn't even like that much?
And you know, what it makes me think about Shanahan is there are certain people who have very large vision of the game and maybe even of life. I would say Belichick, although I don't approve of him, has really, maybe of any coach now, the largest vision of what makes a team.
Yes.
Bill Walsh, he had CinemaScope, the biggest screen TV.
Right.
I would say Kyle has a very narrow vision.
Yes.
He wasn't thinking quarterback. Quarterback is the most important player on your team. Yes. It's the most difficult position in any sport you can name.
Yes.
It's harder than being a pitcher. It's the most difficult in any, and he wasn't thinking about it. What was he thinking about? I mean, I'd like to ask him, when you were at night looking out the window one time, did it occur to you, I really need to get some quarterbacks? He didn't do it. What a failure.
He didn't draft Patrick Mahomes because he wanted to sign Kirk Cousins down the road. That's an all-timer. And then he didn't draft guys like Lamar Jackson because he had Jimmy Garoppolo, who he wasn't sold on. You can have more than one guy. Bill did.
Sure, so he should have more than one guy. So again, to the basic question, where they stand for next season, I think they're a big question mark. And I think they could be anything from a very good team to a mediocre team. And I don't know. And what's more, neither does Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, I mean, they could have a losing record again next season. Say they bring Jimmy Garoppolo back. Who's to say he's going to stay healthy behind this offensive line? This offensive line stinks. He couldn't stay healthy behind it for 5 quarters this year. So Jimmy may not be the answer. Even though he wins, he doesn't play that much. Nick Mullins isn't winning with this team. Is a rookie going to win with this team? They might be looking at 6-10 again next year, which is just a very, very interesting thing for one of the highest paid guys who's signed through 2026. I don't know. I guess when you keep giving a guy a 6-year extension, he's allowed to kind of screw around. I'll get my quarterback. I'll get my quarterback right before Jed tries to fire me. I don't know. Now would be a good time, though. I would recommend it.
I'd say one more thing on this topic, Iggy. Based on how Jed York gives contracts, I think after this season, when the Niners 8-8, 7-9, I think he should give Kyle another 6-year extension.
I knew you were going to say
think you
that.
should give him an extension for life.
Yeah, I think so too.
An
Because of
extension
what he's
for
shown.
life.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Not because he's great, but because he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's good people. That's the kind of guy you want in your organization.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd say an extension for life.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Let's stick with Jimmy Garoppolo. We've talked about him. But is he the answer at quarterback for the 49ers? He does win most of his games. He still is a highly winning quarterback when he's healthy.
You answer it.
No. I think he's gone. He's too expensive. He's not mobile enough. He's not the modern quarterback. He makes Nick Mullins look like Jeff Garcia. He's a statue. He can't protect himself. He doesn't have a big arm. He's not a quick decision maker. He's a good quarterback, but he doesn't earn his Mondo contract. He's got to go, I think.
I would agree with you. I would say he's proven he's not the answer at quarterback. He's proven it. And he's proven it at least in two ways. One, he can't get on the field.
Yeah, that's a problem.
So if you're a winner, he didn't look like a winner sitting up in the stands last night. You know, they showed he had the mask on and he didn't look like a winner. He looked like he should have had a hot dog.
No, sorry. Keep going.
No, he looked like a guy who should have had a hot dog and a Coke. I mean, what was he contributing? And what has he contributed this season? So I'd say he can't stay healthy. And here's the other thing. Is he a good quarterback? Well, he's been a winning quarterback, except not so much lately.
Yeah.
But he's limited.
Yep.
Can we talk about his limitations?
Yes.
He can't move.
He can't move. Yeah.
Iggy,
that's the big problem. That's the big problem.
Move. In this age where more and more you have these quarterbacks, I don't mean running quarterbacks, but quarterbacks who can move, like Josh Allen last night, who can avoid all the pressure and get themselves time. Jimmy can't do that.
No
way can he do that. And he can't make all the throws.
Yeah. To me, it's like either just cut him and spend that money on the offensive line, because any quarterback you put back there is gonna fail. But with Jimmy, like, I was talking to a coach recently, and he said that he always thought accuracy was the most important trait for a quarterback. Like, arm strength is important too, but if you can't put the ball where you want to put it, who cares? Eric Davis said the same thing recently. But this coach said, now, quick twitch athleticism mobility is almost just as important as accuracy, because the pass rushers these days are such good athletes. They're so much more athletic than the offensive linemen that you can't really rely on pass protection. It's why quarterbacks are in the shotgun. You got to get them as far away from those pass rushers. And if the play doesn't work, you need guys who can make a miss. And I think Bill Walsh understood that a long time ago. But you just can't have the statue unless he happens to be Peyton Manning.
Right. Jimmy isn't good enough to be a statue.
And you know what? Nick Mullins isn't either. You know, you really have to be Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, and those guys probably aren't coming around anytime ever again.
Yeah, and that Matty Cool, he's not
No, you can't. Nope.
He's not good enough to be a statue. And Jimmy certainly isn't. And I'll tell you, Nick Mullins is not a statue. No, he can move and buy time.
I'd like to talk about Mullins real quick, even though he doesn't matter really in the big picture of the 49ers. He's the quarterback now. And if Jimmy comes back next year, Mullins probably playing again next year too. So what I'd like to say about him is I think he's actually evolving. He has been making people miss in the pocket and scrambling and extending plays. I never saw him do that before. That's pretty cool. What I'd like to see from Nick Mullins next is to trust himself and actually run past the line of scrimmage. Go for it, dude. You have 8 rushing yards this year. There are first downs available for you that you can pick up. Just take 4 yards instead of throwing into coverage. I think he can do it.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Let's say Jimmy comes down to the coaching staff and says, I feel 100%. Mm-hmm. The medical staff has checked me out. I'm ready to go. Mm-hmm. And it could be in the next 4 weeks, anytime. If you were Kyle Shanahan, would you tell Jimmy, okay, you're the starter again? Or would you stay with Mullins?
It's an interesting question. If Mullins beats Washington, he stays the starter. You don't pull him. But if Mullins loses again and the season's over, I would like to put Jimmy back out there so maybe he plays well and you can trade him instead of cutting him. But if the season ends and they get eliminated, Jimmy's not. I don't think he's going to volunteer to play some garbage time games and get hurt potentially.
It's an interesting dilemma. If the season's over, Shanahan may want to see what he has in Jimmy.
Right, exactly. And Jimmy might not want to play in those circumstances because it's football and it's dangerous and the games don't matter.
Right. So he may not be so eager to say, I'm feeling okay.
Like if they're 7-7, if Nick Mullins wins the next 2 games, Jimmy might want to come in and be the savior. Hey, thanks for holding it down, Nick. Now let me play Arizona and Seattle and take this team to the playoffs. That would be fun, potentially. But if they're out of it, like, you know what? This offensive line really sucks. I don't want to get hit 7 times because I'm going to get hit 7 times and 6 of them are going to really hurt. My head's going to bounce off the turf. Nah, Nick, you take those hits.
You know what? If Nick wins the next 2 games, which he's not going to do, but if he wins the next 2 games and Jimmy says, I want to play, I'd say we're sticking with Nick.
Yeah. See you, buddy. Yeah, absolutely. I thought Nick Mullins had a lot of poise last night. I mean, he made some mistakes. The stuff in the red zone was no good. But when he sees an open receiver, he has this little – he like drags his toe and he kind of styles on the field a little bit. He had a little confidence last night. I really enjoy watching him play. Nick, you got to run a little bit, man. Trust yourself. I know if you get hit, it could be bad, but you seem like a tough guy. You take the hits in the pocket. Run, Nick, run. Run, Nick, run.
Listen to Iggy. Run, Nick, run.
All right, let's talk Super Bowl hangover. We talked about it before the season. What is it? Will it affect the Niners? I think it certainly has. But what is the Super Bowl hangover? I think I've figured out what it is.
Okay, so you say it.
Tell me if you disagree. The Niners got exposed last night in terms of their cornerbacks and their offensive line. It's been like that all season. Well, offensive line all season, cornerbacks last night. It was the same issue in the Super Bowl. This was the issue that really the only thing that held the Niners back and why they lost the Super Bowl. They couldn't protect Jimmy Garoppolo. They couldn't cover good cornerbacks. If the Niners had been honest with themselves, they would have addressed those 2 weaknesses, but they didn't. They really didn't add a corner, and the only guard they added was Colt McKivitz and Tom Compton, who stink. So the Super Bowl hangover is the denial after. The denial that the Niners said, we should have won. We were the best team. That was a fluke ending. The refs screwed us. We should have won. We play that game 10 times. We win 8 of them. So what we're going to do is not overreact, not address perceived weaknesses. Let's just bring back the team as much as possible and see if we can do it again. No, you were not the best. You had weaknesses. You should have addressed them last year. They're still here. Now you got to address them next year. That's the Super Bowl hangover.
You called it denial. I love it. I'd like to use some other words. Foolhardiness.
Yes.
Arrogance.
Yes.
Arrogance. You
That's
know what?
The word.
We lost the Super Bowl. Well, we didn't really lose it. The other guys who won it, they lost it. We won the Super Bowl, and we don't have to do a goddamn thing.
That's right.
We're really the best team. We don't, and we may have a few little shortfalls, but you know what? It won't matter. It won't matter.
It won't matter.
Yeah. And all I can say is, who came up with that idea?
Yeah.
Who came up with that idea? Because the way it worked out when you lost your pass rush, and D Ford was never going to be part of it anyway. That was another foolhardy thing to do. When you lost the one guy who could rush the passer, your whole defense was screwed. And Iggy, last week you gave Richard Sherman a lot of credit, and I asked him to unblock you on Twitter. I didn't think he was that good last night. I thought he got torched at least one time.
I agree. He is a zone cornerback who gets propped up by a good pass rush. If he can just hang back in his zone for 2 seconds while Nick Bosa hits the quarterback, he looks great. But if he actually has to cover someone for more than a couple of seconds, you saw that play where he grabbed a guy because he was going to run by him. You saw that? You see that one? That was good. That negated an interception. Good job, Richard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say one other thing about Super Bowl hangover.
Yeah.
I've been around a lot of football coaches. I really, really like football coaches. One of my best friends in life is Fred Van Appen, who coached with Bill Walsh at the Niners. I know from my knowledge of football coaches, they are ruthlessly self-evaluating.
Mhm.
That what they do is they don't sit there and say, boy, we're really good. It feels so nice to be this good.
Yeah.
No,
No.
they're constantly saying, this guy, we need to upgrade. He's good, but we can get better. This guy, maybe he's falling off a little. They are ruthless in how they evaluate talent and themselves. And all of a sudden, Shanahan, he has another attitude. Let's not evaluate our corners or our quarterback. They're good enough. I think I'll go out and get a pizza.
I got a story for you real quick. Kyle Shanahan, during his off-season press conferences on Zoom before the draft, he would do in one. And on Zoom, you can put like an artificial background, like a green screen, like they do in Hollywood, like you're in Egypt or something fun like that. So he had a background. It was a picture taken after the NFC Championship game that they beat the Green Bay Packers. And it's Deebo Samuel, I believe, in Emmanuel Sanders in the locker room with championship jerseys on, I think gold chains and cigars. And that was Kyle Shanahan's background. And to me, it was like, dude, do you think you're a champion? What is that? You won the NFC Championship? Great. Like, you think that's an accomplishment? You're not a champion. Why are you celebrating that win? You're a 49er. You're supposed to celebrate Super Bowls. Like, the whole attitude during the offseason is, you know what? That was a special team. I don't care that we lost in the Super Bowl. It was a special team, and I want to commemorate it. It really wasn't that special of a team.
Well, it really wasn't. That we found out. I didn't know. That's an interesting story.
Yeah.
These are the Niners. What you do is you celebrate 5 Super Bowls, and the 6th, which they haven't been able to get.
No.
The bunch that won the 5 never lost a Super Bowl.
That's
never
right.
lost.
Yeah.
These guys never won.
Yep. Yeah, but they won the NFC Championship game, and Kyle was really excited about that. He gave the game ball to his dad. How about someone on your team, Kyle?
He gave it to his dad?
To his dad.
Hey, Iggy, would you give a game ball to me?
Yes, you're the best, Dad. All right, we talked about this. We keep bleeding into each other topics, but it's all right. This is a good topic. Why Bill Walsh wouldn't want either of the Niners quarterbacks. This may seem a little harsh. I like Nick Mullins, but you know Bill Walsh extremely well, knew him. And these are not his kind of quarterbacks, are they, Dad?
Okay. No, he would not want either one. Look, for starters, they're not
speaking
good
for a dead guy, but yeah.
I'm speaking for a dead guy.
Yeah.
But okay, I'm trying to.
Sorry.
They're not good enough. But in addition, when you think about the Niners quarterbacks that he liked, Joe, Steve, and he liked Garcia.
Loved him.
They could all move.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
Joe was not a runner, let's say like Kaepernick.
Yeah.
But he was actually a quarterback as opposed to Kaepernick. But Joe could run.
He scrambled.
Yeah, and the catch, he ran right.
Yes.
Steve, we know, could run. They had to bring him down to not run as much. And Garcia could really run, love to, and could throw on the run. So Bill used to talk to me about platform quarterbacks. They stood like a platform. He didn't like them. He liked quarterbacks who could move. So aside from the fact that Jimmy and Nick would not be good enough, would not do things well enough for Bill, neither can move to the way he would have needed it.
And it's like it's the same thing with fighters, right? Because you guys both like boxers. You wouldn't be drawn to a lead-footed boxer. He's not nimble enough. You would like guys like Sugar Ray Leonard who could actually move, right?
Well, look what Leonard did to Thomas Hearns. He jabbed and moved and jabbed and moved, and Hearns was knocking everybody out, couldn't land a big punch, and then Leonard knocked him out. Okay. You want to have some movement.
Okay, I was buying a little time. I got some stats for you, all right? Jeff Garcia, he played 71 games for the Niners, 5 seasons. He rushed for 1,500 yards. He rushed for 21 touchdowns and 118 first downs, all right? That's valuable. Compare that to Jimmy Garoppolo, who's played 30 games with the Niners, rushed for 131 yards, 2 touchdowns, 22 first downs. That's not good enough unless you're Peyton Manning.
Right. I agree. And it makes you think that he's a platform, a statue, can't really protect himself, and can't make things happen when they break down.
Limited. Yes. Jeff, I mean, like, Jeff Garcia would run for about 2 first downs a game. That's valuable. That's valuable. Nick Mullins can do that too. I'd like to see him do that. He's forcing passes into coverage while he's got running lanes. Jimmy Garoppolo used to run, but then he tore his ACL. And then I think since then he's been a little bit in self-preservation mode. I guess I don't blame him, but Bill wouldn't want a guy like that. Bill wanted dynamic athletes. And I keep going back to Jeff Garcia. That's what he's looking for. Guys who can really move, not guys who are just going to stand in the pocket and try to be like Tom Brady, because you're not going to be like Tom Brady. You're not. Even Tom Brady can't be like Tom Brady this year. He's really struggling.
He can't be Tom Brady anymore.
He can't be Tom Brady. I got a stat. The Niners this season have their quarterbacks, all of them, have scrambled 5 times in 12 games.
That's pretty bad, especially the way the league has evolved.
Yes. And while Bill Walsh was really a stickler on throwing from the pocket and learning how to do all of that, he still wanted guys who could do something more.
Yes. I want to say another thing about Jimmy. We talk, will he be the quarterback next season, et cetera. Here's what I would like to think.
Yes.
I would hope. Maybe he'll be the quarterback next year by default because they don't have anyone else. I would hate to think he'd be their quarterback in 2 seasons from now. I don't think he's good enough. I think he's holding him back. So he may have to be the quarterback next season, but maybe not. But in 2 seasons from now, they got to have somebody else.
Good call. All right, let's move to the final topic before we take some questions. The bet. If you guys don't remember, my dad and I have a very nice bottle of Chianti writing on whether the Niners make the playoffs. So it's looking
9-7. You said 9-7.
9-7. So I got to shoot the moon here. Niners got to win the rest of their games. And if they do, I get a nice Chianti, but more likely I'll be returning the favor. My dad recently gave me a really nice Zin, which we haven't drank yet. So I just want to update you guys on the bet.
Well, I want to tell you, I'm not usually a bragger. I'm a humble guy. Iggy, I'm going to really enjoy that because you don't stand a chance. I'll tell you, even if the Niners were good, and they're not, they would get knocked off once in the next few games. They would get knocked off once. Now there's no question they're going to get knocked off once, maybe more than once. So,
okay, here's what I got to say to you.
I want to finish.
Okay.
It's not just a Chianti, it's a Reserva.
Oh, Reserva. You hear that, guys? All right, so here's the thing. When the 49ers win their next 4 games, all right? When they go to the playoffs and run the table, go to the Super Bowl and win it, when I sit down to write the book of the most remarkable Super Bowl winning season of all time, the first chapter is going to be called the Chianti Reserva. I'm just saying. I'm starting at the Chianti Reserva. That's where I'm starting. So, hey, you count those chickens right now, but I already got my intro chapter to the greatest Super Bowl season of all time.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, you like that? All right, it's question time. Would you like us to talk, answer your questions? We can do the best we got. Let's see what we got. Big Face Kev said that's a good lead, and he spelled lead correctly.
Lede.
He did. He knows. All right, guys, get your questions together. This is a serious part. Now this is where you guys have to participate. Okay. Should we draft an offensive lineman, an offensive tackle? It's an interesting question. What's more important right now, quarterback or offensive tackle?
Oh, that's right. The point is you can draft both.
Yes.
So he didn't say in the first round.
True. The problem is offensive tackles are valuable like quarterbacks, and the good ones usually go in the first round. So what do? If you take a quarterback, there's a good chance he could just get hurt right away. But how do you not take a quarterback? You got to take a quarterback.
And you only have 1 pick in the first round?
Yeah. Yep. Only 1 pick in the first round.
Well, you know what? They're on the horns of the dilemma they created.
That's right. And you know what?
Not our problem.
Not our problem. We haven't even mentioned cornerback. That's just as big of an issue as offensive tackle and quarterback. So that's more reasons to think the Niners aren't necessarily.
The answer is they got a big problem. And you know what? When I'm done with this broadcast today, I'm going to go have lunch. I'm not going to worry. I don't worry about my problems.
Yes.
I'm trying to refinance this house so I can get a deck for Iggy when after I croak and he moves in here. But as far as the Niners, they got a lot of problems that they brought on themselves because they were foolhardy.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fair to say, like if you were Jimmy Garoppolo's agent, all right, you know what, guys? get rid of my client, trade him somewhere, draft someone else, and let's see you ruin that guy. You're going to put him behind Tom Compton and Mike McGlinchey? Hey, good luck, buddy. Have fun taking Jimmy Garoppolo's spot.
Hey, Iggy, I want to ask you a question. When you were showing, video of the offensive line, on the video, was McGlinchey yelling at McKivitz?
Yes.
Could you describe, because I didn't describe what happened.
Okay. So McKivitz messed up. He's terrible. They're supposed to, it's a run play away from McKivitz and McGlinchey because they stink. You're trying to go away from them, but they're blocking Aaron Donald. And the way it works is it starts off as a double team combo block, and then the guard goes up after he gets a good hit on Donald, goes up and blocks a linebacker. Well, McKivitz just happened to whiff entirely on Aaron Donald. That's a problem. So McGlinchey was left in a tough spot. Didn't have the angle. He's basically climbing on Aaron Donald's back as Aaron Donald strips the ball from Raheem Mostert, and the Rams recover and score a touchdown. And that's could have lost the game for the Niners. So the great part about this play, it wasn't McGlinchey's fault. It was McKivitz's fault. But mid-play, the ball's out. It's on the ground right next to Mike McGlinchey. Instead of like trying to get the ball or continuing to play football, he gets up, turns around away from the ball, and yells at Colton McKivitz like, come on! Play still going on. Turns back around and sees the Rams player running to the end zone and is the only guy on the Niners who doesn't even move to try to get him. It's like the left fielder who just turns and watches the ball go over his head. Thanks a lot for the effort. So that was Mike McGlinchey, team captain. Thank you.
And he yelled at the guy while the play was going on.
While the play was going on. That's stuff that like you can't even get away with in JV football. If someone did that in JV football, the coach would have to bench him and say, don't you ever, ever, ever do that during a play ever again. Happened in the NFL.
You know what happened on that play, Iggy? He lost his focus.
He lost his focus.
They always say, I lost my focus. I don't know what he was focusing on, but he lost his focus.
That reminded me, I'm not going to say the kid's name, but when I was at O'Dowd, freshman year on the freshman baseball team, one of my friends dove for a ball in left field, missed it, and was so upset that he missed the ball, he stayed on the ground and slammed his hands and feet. And I remember Nico and I were on the bench, and the coach said, Nico, go over there and tell him he can never do that ever again. First of all, tell him he's out of the game and tell him don't ever do that ever again. That was Mike McGlinchey. The kid was 15. All right. So the kid had a reason. He was 15. This was Mike McGlinchey. Wow. Anyway, so a good question. Let's see what else we got. 4.540. We know. Yeah, I always have to bring up my athletic career at high school because it was so good. My dad ran a 23.2 in the 200-yard dash. That's really fast. I don't think I could ever have done that.
220, actually.
220. Where them questions at? Hold on. How about Sherman free safety? Will it work?
He'll be better at free safety than he is at corner.
Yeah, it couldn't hurt.
It couldn't hurt, and maybe he'll unblock Iggy.
Yeah.
I got a question on Sherman.
Yeah.
Iggy, will he be on the Niners next season?
Hell no. Absolutely not. Nope. They can't afford him, and he's not worth it. They need to spend that money on someone younger than him. An offensive lineman, a corner? No, absolutely not. He's done. So that question we had earlier, what is the meaning of the season if the Niners fall out of contention? They need to stop playing Richard Sherman.
I love it.
Right now.
Come back to it.
Or move him to safety now. If you think you might like him as the free safety of the future, move him there now. He's done at corner. That's an interesting thing. Yeah, if they lose to Washington, Sherman needs to stop playing cornerback the rest of the season. No future there. Get him out. Good question.
Hey, Iggy, I got a question.
Sure.
Since our readers, I don't mean readers, these people aren't asking a lot of questions.
Yeah.
What is the meaning of this game for Alex Smith?
Oh, this is a big deal for Alex Smith. This is going to feel so good for Alex Smith. They call it a revenge game. Well, it is. I mean, imagine what Alex Smith's career would have been like if he had been drafted by any organization other than the Niners. There's like a bizarro world where he's drafted by like the Patriots or anyone else and has this great Hall of Fame career. But instead, They ruined him for the first 7 years of his career, all those different coordinators and stuff. Then as soon as he got it together, they ditched him and he had to like wander the NFL. He improved. Then he had this like war injury where his leg almost got amputated. He comes back and now he gets to, hey, remember me? How do you like your quarterbacks? Did you figure that situation out? Or you're still working that? You're still, okay, well, maybe you should have kept me. Because look at what I still win, still doing good. It must feel really good. I can only imagine. Two revenge buffs, you and I, can look at Alex Smith and be like, ooh, you're going to have a good week. You got something to look forward to.
And something to compete for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I want to say, some people, you may even read it, this game means a lot to Alex Smith. He's going to really try hard. It's baloney.
No.
He's going to try hard in any game. He's not going to try any harder in this game. And in fact, if he tries harder, he'll screw up. You have to play the way you play. But the game has tremendous meaning for him. And you know what? I kind of feel for him.
Oh, me too. Me too. I'm sure he just can't stand. I would imagine he has some bitterness towards Jed and Parag and all those guys that are still there. The way that Jim Harbaugh does and Vic Fangio probably does. It would really feel great for the only thing is that he can't go to Levi Stadium and do it. You know, that's the only thing. That would be nice to do it right in that field. But Alex Smith is one of the better stories. I really like him. And, you know, I think Bill Walsh would have liked him too. He can move. I think Bill.
I don't know if he can move now, Iggy. I have no idea he got hurt, but absolutely he could move. And you know what? He may have, again, not been good enough for Bill. I think Bill could have coached him up to be a better quarterback than what he was. The thing that you and I always had against Alex was that he was too cautious.
Yes. And maybe Bill would have had a problem with that. But again, Bill was so good with his offense. Alex, all he would have had to do was execute it, and it probably would have worked. You know, I think he would have done a good job with Alex Smith because physically, Alex Smith has probably got a little bit more going for him than even Jeff Garcia, who was good.
And I'll say he has more. He at one time, I don't know now, more going for him physically than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Still stronger arm, more mobile right now than Jimmy Garoppolo. No question.
I love it. Yeah. So you see, we asked that question. They didn't ask it, but we asked that.
Yeah, we're asking your questions. Come on, guys. Grant, should we move Mike McGlinchey to right guard or just get rid of him? Nah. We can come back to that. Lowell, what are your thoughts on Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr.? Grant, is there anyone aside from Staley the Niners should pursue the O-line coach? What do you think of that sideshow? Tyson.
I'm not interested. You know, I love boxing, but these are two guys who are they're old. Yeah. They're through. I hope nobody gets hurt. It's supposed to be an exhibition. I wouldn't pay a penny to look at that.
They already did it. No one got hurt. It was awful. It stinks that.
You mean they already did it?
It already happened. Yeah.
That just shows I didn't even know.
Boxing's becoming like a sideshow spectacle for celebrities. If you're famous, people will watch you fight. Like Floyd Mayweather Jr. is coming out of retirement again to fight a guy named Jake Paul, who's a YouTube, like he's like a social media influencer. He's had like one professional fight, and I think he lost. So, but he's famous, and people will watch him. So, freaking Floyd Mayweather is going to fight him, just like he fought that MMA guy who's not a boxer. It's just celebrity. It's a celebrity spectacle now. It stinks. You know what I'm saying?
I hope Floyd doesn't hurt the guy.
No, what Floyd's going to do is the same thing he did against McGregor. He's going to carry the fight for 10 rounds, not fight him, keep him in it, and then knock him out. That's what he did to McGregor, and then everyone's going to be rich. All right. Questions. Well, I got something I want to say real quick. I don't know if we need a question, but what's interesting about Kyle to me is I was talking to the wife of a position coach, and she was saying how there's no accountability in the NFL. The way everything's set up is people position fall guys for their mistakes. If I do this, I'm like GMs, I'll draft a player, and if it doesn't work out, I blame the coach, right? And then coaches, like I'll set up this system, and if it doesn't work out, I'll blame the quarterback. And it's just a never-ending cycle of blame. And to me, like what Kyle needs to work on is the good coaches, I think, don't do that. You got to take accountability. And what you do is you say, it was my fault that we lost this game. I did XYZ wrong specifically. And that way, the rest of your players do stuff like that too. You set the example of taking accountability. I was bad. I did these things wrong. I need to improve. That way, your players say the same thing, because what his players come in and say, the good ones, or the ones who were drafted highly and make a lot of money, like Mike McGlinchey, they come into the post-game press conference and say, I played well. I played well. And that's what Kyle basically says. I coached well. These guys got to execute. And there's just an attitude like of no accountability with the Niners and a lot of teams in the NFL, because owners fire coaches so quickly and players get cut so quickly. It's just a whole culture of blame, finger pointing. And I'd like to see Kyle move past that, because he does have ultimate job security.
That's interesting. So what you're saying is I'd like to repeat it because this is new to me and I love it, is that Kyle, because he doesn't take responsibility, he sets an example of not taking responsibility. Right. So someone like McGlinchey or Sherman,
right,
or anyone else could say, I'm really doing well.
Yes.
I'm really doing well.
And that's what they do. That's what they do.
Where it's a team game. It doesn't matter if you're doing well. We lost. We didn't do well. That's what it means. There's no such thing as a good loss. We lost. We didn't do well. And Kyle, I'm not even sure he thinks that way. I called a good game.
I called a good game. And, Trent Williams will come up and be like, nah, my grade is good. Like, what do you mean your grade is good? Would Joe Staley talk that way if the Niners were 5-7? He'd be like, hey, I'm playing well. I just want people to know my grade is good. Dude, he would never say that. He'd be like, we're not playing well. It's about us. It's not about me.
It's a locker room. It's a whole team. Yeah. It's the ultimate team sport, Iggy. It's the ultimate team sport.
When I question Kyle Shanahan's leadership, it's because of stuff like this. A coordinator would pass the blame onto his quarterback because he's competing with his quarterback. A head coach is supposed to have what's best for the team in mind. And competing with the quarterback does not help your team. You need to be pumping that guy up. You don't need to be honest with the quarterback all the time. You need to pump him up, basically. Right?
I agree.
Kyle is honest to a fault at times, or I don't even know if he's honest. He's not honest with himself.
He's certainly not honest with himself about this team, with how this team was not prepared for this season.
Okay, we do have a couple of questions. Let's get to them real quick. The first one is from Hero Winchester at 1218. Let me go get it. All right, here we go. Hi, Grant. Big fan. You've said on multiple occasions that you're not a Niners fan. What team are you a fan of? And what's your dad's favorite team? I'm a fan of the Cohn Zohn, the two-man team of me and my dad. I root for us hard. Big fan, die hard. I don't root for other grown men, They don't root for me. See, the fandom just seems kind of childish. It's like you did it with your dad growing up. You hold on to it and it means something to you because it was a bonding experience as a child. And you look at these players as heroes. I didn't have that experience with my dad. My dad was cynical too, because he was a writer. So my bonding experience was this. So it was easy for me to give up being a fan. I understand why people stick with it. I get it.
Okay, I want to say something and clarify something. For you or for me, being a fan would feel childish. But it's not childish for fans.
No.
We're writers. We have a different relationship. Let's deal with the Niners because this is a Niners video. Let's talk about the Niners. I love the Niners. I've had the most interesting experiences of my writing life writing about the 49ers. They mean a lot to me, but I don't root for them. I'm not connected to them. I just cover them. Now, so for me to root for them would feel childish and also unprofessional. But for fans to root for them, God love you. Go for it. What we're saying is we don't have those feelings, but there's more in the question. If we don't root for the Niners, what teams do we root for? I can say this honestly. I don't root for any teams, and none. I don't root. Even I went to Lafayette College and I was a graduate student for 6 years at Stanford. I don't root for them. I don't even know what Stanford's record is or Lafayette. I mean, I know David Shaw's the coach, but I don't root for them. I don't care. I have a different relationship than a fan. The last team I probably rooted for was the 1955 Dodgers. It was the first time they ever won the World Series. I was 10, and I was at the dentist. I remember he was playing the game on the radio. He's drilling me, and they won the World Series. I was in the dentist seat, Dr. Foreman. So what I want to say is I haven't rooted for a team since, and I wouldn't even think about it.
See, when I said it was a childish thing, I meant it's something that you develop in childhood. If the Brooklyn Dodgers still existed, I think you'd be a Brooklyn Dodger fan.
I don't know. Not if I had met the players and covered them.
Yeah, maybe not. Good point. Good point. Yeah, once you get into journalism, how could you honestly root for a team? It's like you don't care. Yeah.
You'd meet a lot of the players, and some of them you wouldn't like.
Yeah, yeah. I can't even. I used to root for UCLA for fun, but Chip Kelly's their head coach. I can't stand Chip Kelly. Can't stand him, and I know that guy.
That's the point. You knew him. You know, I have to say, I've met some off-putting people. I've met a lot of off-putting people in my professional life. He would rank very high. Now, he wasn't rude. He wasn't rude. He was pompous, smug. Would you agree with those two words?
Pompous, smug, and not what he seemed. Like, he was just off-putting. Like, wow, he was strange. Really strange. Like, Jim Tom Sula was right out there. Chip is like, who are you?
Yeah, who are you? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but thoughts on the Carson Wentz situation. His problem is the lack of talent, scheme around him, and inconsistent mechanics. He just got benched in Philly. He beat the Niners this year. He was good a few years ago. He's like getting phased out the way Jimmy's getting phased out, or even worse. Do you have any thoughts on that? Should the Niners go after him? I don't think
he's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think he's still a really good quarterback. I don't care. Do you agree?
I do.
Yeah. I think he's a really good quarterback, but I don't think he'd be a good quarterback here. They'd get him killed. Listen, I don't know who could be. I don't know that Joe Montana could be a good quarterback here.
That's the point.
I don't know anybody. You say, who should they get at quarterback? God save him. I mean, he has McGlinchey yelling at McKivitz in the middle of a play.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know about that offensive line.
The only quarterback who might be able to survive behind this is like Kyler Murray, but they're not getting Kyler Murray anytime soon. Whew, scary. Yeah, Joe Montana would get hurt. Steve Young. I mean, it's just a concussion waiting to happen. They lead the league in quarterback hits allowed. That's ridiculous. It's unacceptable.
Yeah. And I guess one of the things that Iggy that we're stressing that you don't even think about, I would say the most important group on a team is the offensive line.
Yep.
Iggy, I think when you think of chess, they're the pawns. Are they the pawns who and protect?
Yes, right? Absolutely. That's right. And when you learn about chess, they talk a lot about your pawn structures. If you can get a diagonal line of pawns across your chessboard, that is a very effective defense, and it even can be an offense. So yes, they are the pawns, and they're very important. And if one of them stinks, then you got a big problem. And the Niners have like 4 of them who stink.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting question about Carson Wentz, but it's not the right question. The right question is, could any quarterback do well? And again, it comes back to Kyle Shanahan. You didn't notice? Kyle, I'm talking to you. You didn't notice what this offensive line was? You didn't notice that Jimmy was going to get hurt right away, and then you bring him back and get hurt right away? I mean, aren't you responsible for that? Aren't you responsible for using chess, thinking 4 moves ahead? Didn't you notice? Kyle, pay attention. I'm talking to you.
Dad, do you really think Jimmy wants to come back to this team after what you just said? Think about it.
Yeah.
You just laid it out. You really think he wants to come back and play week 16 and week 17 if he doesn't have to?
No, I think the Beacons truck is outside his apartment wherever he lives right now, and he's loading it up.
I think when the Niners lost that game, secretly deep down inside, he was thinking, I don't have to play. I don't have to play. I'm not coming back. I wouldn't want to play behind that offensive line. I really feel bad for Nick Mullins because the league doesn't care about him. You can't hit certain quarterbacks. You can't hit Josh Allen, but you can hit Nick Mullins. You can just tee off on him. And there's about 3 or 4 times a game where his head gets bounced off the turf and he just pops right back up. I would not let my son play this game. Oh my goodness. And I feel like he's like my nephew or something. Every time he gets hit, I like levitate out of my seat. Nick! Oh my God. Nick.
So, Iggy, do you root for Nick?
Do I root for Nick? I shouldn't, but I think I do. I shouldn't. It's not professional, but I do. I like him. I mean, his grandfather's in the comments section. I like Nick. I mean, the fact that someone like that could make it this far in the NFL is just a great story.
Okay, I got another question. You like Nick, right?
I do like Nick.
Is there any other player you covered that you secretly liked like that?
No. I like Ross Dwelley too, but I don't know Ross Dwelley like that. I mean, his family's nice to me and he's a cool player, but Nick Mullins and I will talk in the locker room back when there was a locker room to talk in. He's really cute. He's cute. That's all I have to say. Like,
well, that's what you said.
He's 7 years younger than me, but he talks like he's 20 years older than me. I love it. It's so funny. It's great.
Now, Iggy, I didn't root for players, but I have to admit, when Steve Young in Arizona got that concussion, and I knew how badly hurt he was, and it wasn't his first concussion. I talked to him afterward, and he seemed kind of dreamy, because he was hurt. I felt personally bad. Now, yes. I didn't allow it to affect what I wrote, and I didn't really root for Steve, although I like him very much. It wasn't my job. But when that happened, I have to say I had a bad feeling in my chest.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't want to develop an emotional attachment to someone, but you do know Steve Young very well. You had a lot of interactions with him, and he was always gracious, nice to you. So how could you, compartmentalize it like that?
Yeah.
Paul Tilton asks, he said, I enjoy your truth more after a loss than after a win. Do you think the Niners will be much better next year? I don't. Lowell, big fan of you both. Thanks, Paul. We've been talking a little earlier. We're not so sure that the Niners are going to necessarily be much better next year or bounce back next year. And the reason is they still have major issues at quarterback, offensive line, and cornerback. And they only have one first round pick. They put themselves in a bad spot. It's like they got their queen taken early in the chess game and they're scrambling.
That's right. That's what happened.
You got your queen taken. Your odds of winning are pretty low, but you're still early in the game.
Now, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, Iggy, because I've been through this about 40 times. When they go to training camp next summer, the Niners are going to say, we're really good. They're going to say, we're really good. We've handled everything. We feel this is really a comeback year for us, like the Rams. And you're going to read in the papers and see on TV, the Niners have it. They really are good now, that whatever their problems were. And there's going to be a lot of propaganda from the team and a lot of propaganda from the media. People that you're watching, don't pay any attention to it. It's BS. What you need to do is look for yourself.
Yes.
You'll see highlights. You'll see Iggy videos, things like that. And if you don't want to agree with Iggy, turn the sound off. Look for yourself. Because whatever comes out in the media during training camp and from the team is pure propaganda.
And I'll give you some examples. Think back to August of this year. That was only 4 months ago. Who are some players who are having the best camp of their lives? Trent Taylor. Dante Pettis was having a triumphant comeback. Remember that? He even had a press conference where he talked for like 10 minutes, was like, I don't really feel comfortable talking about it now, but when the time is right, I'm going to explain my, great story. No, dude. No. You had one practice. So Trent Taylor, Dante Pettis, every year, Solomon Thomas. Every year, Solomon Thomas has turned to corner, guys. He looks great. He's in great shape. Every year you hear that. It's like I don't know who, but people are either trying to speak it into existence or they're trying to tell fans stuff they want to hear, knowing that the fans can't see for themselves and they can't be proven wrong. I don't know, but it is the essence of fake news. The essence.
It's fake news. And what they want to do is create a narrative, a fairy tale.
Yes.
And I know Iggy and I sound very cynical. I had been through this so many times. You got to put cotton in your ears when they start saying that stuff. It has no relation to reality. Reality is what happens in the first game.
That's right.
I.e., they got beat in the first game.
Yeah. I.e., they were not prepared for the season whatsoever.
Yeah.
Sean Shepard gave us a $10 tip. Me. Thank you, Sean. All chips are in, quote unquote. Chip Kelly acts like he actually won a national championship. Yeah, that's what I don't like about Chip Kelly. His attitude, he's so arrogant. It's like he invented football, won a bunch of national championships, and graced the 49ers with his presence. Dude, you're just a loser. I don't know who you are. And now you're just ruining UCLA football for me, and I can't forgive you. Then he says, Mike, keep going.
I want to talk about Chip Kelly. Iggy, remember his introductory press conference, how he corrected you?
That's right. I said, Chip, do you still feel like the zone read can be the basis of an NFL run game? No, I said, do you still think the read option can be the basis of an NFL run game? And he said, what's the read option? What's the read option? It's the zone read. And he wouldn't answer the question. It's the zone read. What's the read option? And then a bunch of people were like, Grant doesn't know the difference. Yeah.
Well, the point is, Iggy, he was supposed to be gracious. He was being introduced to everybody. And what he showed was he was a pedantic schmuck.
Yep.
He was a pedantic schmuck.
That is the scientific term.
Iggy, you and I looked at each other when he did that. We were right in the auditorium and would say, this guy bears watching, right?
Yep. This guy's going to lose. He's going to fail. Watch.
Yeah.
Watch. Oh, you're already nitpicking the words of questions before training camp started. Oh, you're going to lose. You are going to lose this year. Watch. And you're not going to like the questions. They're not going to get easier, Chip. Oh, man. I miss that guy. Chip was such an easy target. The other thing I remember about him, this is a good detail. Make of it what you will. We covered him at Kezar. They had, all I'm going to say is his posture. I'm just going to describe it, and that's it. He did I'm sorry, look at my dad. I'm being very gentle here. He did a group press conference, and he stood around, and my dad and I noticed that when Chip Kelly stands, his feet are touching. They touch. He stands like a penguin. Do you stand? I'm asking you at home. When you stand, do your feet touch? And isn't it kind of weird, people that do stand like that? I actually don't. I can't remember seeing anyone ever do that. And we both were like, look at that.
Well, you know what happened, Iggy? Because I remember what happened. We were there. Yeah. And I said, look at his feet.
Look at his feet. I said, wow, that is weird.
I thought, I never saw guys stand like this. Yeah, did it mean it was uptight? I mean, I didn't know, but it was something to notice. And okay, I have never mentioned that.
There was just something very unathletic about it. And it was just kind of funny to see the head coach of the 49ers standing like, I don't know, Neville Longbottom from Harry Potter. I don't know if you remember who Neville Longbottom is. But
Iggy, could you imagine Harbaugh standing like that?
Harbaugh would always want to have like an aggressive stance with his feet shoulder width apart and a little bit of a forward lean so you could feel the whole side. No, this guy was like, hi. Hey, everyone. How's it going? Like, oh man.
Problem here.
Oh, man. You want him to be the first one off the bus striding towards the stadium. Oh, Chip Kelly's in town. Watch out. Man, I don't understand how he won all those games in Oregon, but boy, that was a long time ago. Well, I think.
Was there another part to that question?
Yeah, there was another part to it. Hold on. It was, I think Mike McButt Clinchy was envisioning tackling you last night, Grant. That's a funny name for him. Do you remember Mike McGlinchey's tackle last night? It was during, I think, the interception return. He tackled the hell out of someone. It was the best play he's had all year. He should definitely become a special teams player because he's way better at tackling than blocking. Maybe that's the thing. He should be on defense. One more question from Sean. Hold on. And then we'll go. I think many teams will be dumping players because of the cap, plus the Niners will be able to get a surplus of vets for a minimum salary. Cap is a league-wide problem. Yeah, then a lot of teams are going to be having to cut expensive vets because the cap is going down or not going up, one or the other. So maybe that Jimmy will be a cap casualty and maybe the Niners can get some other cap casualties down the line. It's going to be a very weird offseason. We don't really know what this team's going to look like next year at all. It's hard to say what they're going to look like.
I have something to add. It's a great point.
Yeah.
When Niners get cap casualties, please don't get injured players because they specialize in getting players who are injured or about to be injured, like D Ford. I mean, Kansas City knew about him. So all I'm saying is, please, when you get a guy, do a physical. I guess you do a physical, but really pay attention.
Yes. And please don't give any more 5-year, $85 million contracts to guys who've had one good season because Eric Armstead is stealing money from you. I mean, I don't know if he's not playing his hardest. He's just not that good. He tricked you to making you think that he's somehow better than Solomon Thomas. He's the $85 million version of Solomon Thomas. You got to not do that ever again. We didn't come down hard enough on them choosing choosing Armstead over him. Man, Eric Armstead. It's like he's in retirement.
Yeah, I guess we're saying that we really are not that impressed by how they've put that team together and how they've given out contracts.
No, I mean, they actually should have all gotten fired. The only reason they haven't is because they're such good coaches that they develop the 5th round picks, the 6th round picks. There's a lot of good backups on the team. They're a really well coached team, but oh my God, the personnel decisions they make are unforgivable. I mean, you can list 15 guys right off the top. Reuben Foster, Solomon Thomas, CJ Beathard, DeKello Witherspoon, Dante. It's on and on and on and on and on. And the fact that they're not 2-10 just shows how good Robert Saleh and Kyle Shanahan are at what they do.
Yes.
Will Kyle Shanahan ever be over 500 as a head coach? Quick prediction. What do you think?
Oh boy. Let me answer it in a Weasley way. Not for a long time.
For a long time.
For a long time. He may eventually squeak over, but not for a long time.
Okay, bonus question, same topic. Will he get there on the 49ers, or will that happen in the second act of his career?
Iggy, they've signed him for 6 more years?
They've signed him through the end of the millennium. He's here through the year 3000.
Yeah, I think he'll do it at the 49ers.
Okay.
What do you think?
When he's 55 years old? Yeah, probably. Tom Brokaw, apparently, says, do you know a single person who thinks Jed York is a good owner?
Well, I don't know that many people. But the people I know, no.
You sure about that? I think there's some people that cover this team that think Jed York gets a raw deal.
Oh, you mean, I thought they meant not media people. But I see, because you're down there with the media. I wouldn't know the answer to that one. But the people I know, no. But you're saying some media people think he's good?
Family friend, Matt Mayoko, I love him. I think if you asked him on the record, is Jed York a good owner? He would say yes.
Interesting.
I think he would say yes.
I really respect Matty, and I know that you do as well.
No question.
I would, when I have lunch with Matty when we're allowed again, I would like to ask him why. And I bet what's more, he'd have very good arguments. I think
he absolutely would. I just think he would say that Jed York is a good owner. I don't know what Matt Barrows and Cam Inman would say. I just have a feeling Matt would, and I think that's interesting because Matt is the leader of the beat.
Iggy, what about the guy up in Sacramento? What's his name? Would he think?
Biederman. Yeah, I think Biederman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Biederman also would say that Jed York's a good owner. I think the fashionable thing to say is that Jed York takes too much flack because he was handed the team. He got it at a young age. And a lot of people who covered Eddie DeBartolo didn't give him a chance. He's held to too high of a standard. He built a stadium. Eddie never did that. He hired Kyle. I'm telling you, this is all the stuff you're going to hear. Okay. I think a lot of people have his back.
Okay. Again, my question is, was he a good owner when he ran out on the team at halftime?
That was his finest moments of the season. No. No. Was he a good owner when he gave Kyle Shanahan a 6-year extension for having one good year? Recently, I had Eric Davis on my show, and I knew he was good, but I didn't know he was that good. And he said a bunch of stuff that was like Confucius. Like it's stuck with me. And it's like changed how I think about football. And he said one thing like, a lot of guys have one good year. Like Eric Davis was a successful NFL player, and he has no real respect for a guy who had one good year. It's like, you know how many guys have done that? Coaches, players, like, okay, do it again. Can you do it again? Then I'll respect you. Do it every year. Like Richard Sherman did, like Eric Davis did. So far, Kyle hasn't been that guy. And nor is Armstead. So until they get there, you're just a guy who had one good year. And Jed York was impressed. Because Jed, I don't think he's had a good year ever.
You know who another one who had one good year? Jimmy Garoppolo.
One good year. Yep. A lot of guys have had one good year. Solomon Thomas had one good year in college. They drafted him. CJ Beathard had no good years in college. They drafted him. So the one good year rule, Niners, you should know better. 2 years. You're looking for 2. Dad, I think it's time for us to hang up and call each other. What do you think?
Yeah, I have to go to the bank anyway. Hey,
all right,
everybody, thanks for hanging in with us. This was a lot of fun.
It was. And Dad, you look really dapper today, I got to say. You look good.
Well, I was wearing a T-shirt last time.
Well, there you go. Thanks for coming on. See you guys.
See ya.